here in just a second. We get kind of settled in. I think we've got a couple commissioners online today, and Sarah Baxter's also online for us too. Now, Sarah, you got to turn your camera on. Everybody ready here? Is Sarah just making sure you're there? Good morning, Kokithia.
Happy New Year, Kobe.
Yeah. Happy New Year to you too.
I'm ready when you are.
I'm sorry.
I'm ready when you are.
I was making sure that Sarah's here. They're
Okay.
joining us. Shows up online, but I'd like to see her, have her camera on so we know.
Yeah, I did. Right. Where? Your camera is still covered if it's on, if you're trying to turn on your camera.
Okay. All right, Ms. Baxter's logged in. We could see her there. So let's go ahead and get started with the meeting. Are we already recording? Looks like. So good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. I hope everybody enjoyed the holidays and all the football that's been on the last couple of days. And you're ready to prosper here in 2024. So welcome to the January 2nd, 2024 City Planning Commission meeting. We appreciate you attending and meeting today. The commissioners look forward to hearing your case. We understand every project is important and unique, and we want to make sure we address all of the docketed items individually with the attention that they deserve to build a consensus between the applicant, public, and the city staff. We also believe we can reach consensus by being brief yet heard. Because our meeting is recorded and virtual, as well as live here, we have time limits for the cases that we hear, which is 5 minutes for staff presentations, 20 minutes for the applicant, plus any questions by the commissioners. Then once we move into public comments, we will start with those joining us in the chambers first, and then we will call on those that are actually joining us virtually second. With that, we expect comments to be no longer than 2 minutes when joining us as an individual, or up to 5 minutes when representing a community association or a larger group. In all instances, please limit repetitive comments. And also those of you that are joining us virtually, please help us keep the meeting on track by being ready to speak when promoted, with your camera on and unmuted. We also ask that you put your name as a virtual person, put your name in there too, so we know who we're talking to. So as we get started with our meeting, I asked staff to provide some additional ground rules and instructions to ensure we have minimal disruption and maximum clarity. So can you provide those for us, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a hybrid meeting. For those joining us online, know that there are 2 categories of people participating in the meeting, attendees and panelists. Right now, the only panelists are the commission members and city staff. If you're an applicant or a citizen who is interested in a case, please use the raised hand function when the chair calls a case to let them know that you should be promoted. When that promotion happens, it might seem that you've been disconnected. However, you will be reconnected shortly. If you are joining via the app on a phone or computer, please change your name to reflect your legal name and turn on your camera. Understand that if you are calling in with a phone number, you cannot adjust your screen name, and you will also not be able to use the raised hand function. So if you are joining by phone, you can raise your hand when the case is called by pressing star followed by the number 9. At the time of the promotion, the chair would like for you to turn on your camera and microphone if possible. And your microphone will need to be on mute unless you are giving testimony. As a reminder, the chat box is only for questions about the agenda, and merits of the case should not be discussed in the chat. We will take public testimony from the chambers first and then move on to the online setting for public testimony. And that's all.
Okay, thank you. So let's go ahead and start the meeting with the consent agenda items. Go ahead and read both of them, even though we're looking at one for approval and one for continuance. We'll just do one motion for both.
Consent agenda item 1 is case number CLD FN plat 2023-29. A request to approve a final plat in District M1-5 on about 39 acres generally located at the southwest corner of East 149th Street and Thunderbird Road, creating 1 lot, and staff is recommending approval with conditions. Consent item number 2 is case number CPC 2023-00164, a request to approve a project plan in District B3-3 for retail sales on about 1.5 acres generally located at Northwest Berry Road and North Green Hills Road, and staff is recommending continuance without fee to January 16th.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission regarding docket items C1 or C2? On C2, this is the second time we've continued it. Do you know what's kind of holding this up?
The applicant is needing to submit some revised drawings. And
Okay. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item C1 or the continuance of docket item C2, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
Mr. Chair, there's no one in the room wishing to speak and no one online has raised their hands.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close public testimony then on the consent agenda, and I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowley, I move to recommend approval for docket item C1 and to continue docket item C2 without fee to January 16th.
Second.
All right, so I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item C1 and then continuance of C2. So Paulina, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Baker,
Aye.
Crowe,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Hasek.
Aye.
Padilla.
All right, looks like the motion passes in. So where are we at now? 6 to none? Yeah, 6 to none. All right. With that, let's go ahead and start our regular agenda items, beginning with those that we're going to continue to a future date.
Okay, cases to be continued begin at case number 7. It's case number CPC 2023-00173. A request to approve a rezoning from R-1.5 to R-0.75. A total of 4 lots to accommodate a proposed apartment complex on about 0.3 acres, generally located at 4511 Summit Street. Staff is recommending continuance without fee to January 16th. Docket item number 8 is CD SUP 2023-00051, a request to approve a special use permit for an extension of the Research College of Nursing and HCA Healthcare on about 50.42 acres, generally located at the southwest corner of East Meyer Boulevard and Hospital Access Road. Staff is recommending continuance without fee to January 16th. And docket item number 9 is case number CD SUP 2023-00020, a request to reapprove a special use permit in District R-2.5 to allow for public and civic uses for the reuse of Franklin Elementary School as a community center and KCSD operation office on about 4.5 acres located on the north side of East 35th Street between Highland Avenue on the east and Wayne Avenue on the west. And staff is recommending continuance without fee to February 20th, 2024.
Okay, any questions from the commissioners regarding continuance of docket items 7, 8, and 9? All right. Okay. So with that, so we'll open it up for any public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding continuance of docket items 7, 8, or 9, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
Mr. Chair, no one in the room wishes to speak and no one online has raised their hands.
Okay, so we'll close public testimony then, and I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowe. Oh, go ahead, Enders. Sorry.
You're good. Chair Crowley, move to continue docket items 7, 8, and 9 as stated in the docket.
Second.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second for continuance of docket items 7, 8, 9 per the agenda. Paulina, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Baker,
Aye.
Crowe,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Hasek.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes in 6 to none. With that, let's jump right back to docket item number 1, please.
Docket item number 1 is MIC 2023-00005, presenting an update on the implementation of the Casey Spirit Playbook and the incorporation of playbook development guidelines into the case review process. And the staff planner is Morgan Pemberton.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. If I could be given screen sharing access, please, on this one.
Or as you getting that, you guys understand that this Casey Spirit Playbook was approved last year and it's our new comprehensive plan. And so they're giving us an update because and she'll probably tell us a lot about it, but just some things that they're doing and how they're implementing pieces within the comp plan. And then staff reports, we'll see a little bit of a different format, I think, over time as how our staff reports will look when they send them to us. So
Yeah, just a little bit of a difference, but you'll be able to see the playbook guidelines really incorporated into the development review process. It's giving me permission now. Thank you. All
you see
right.
that okay, Commissioner Hill?
Yes, I can see it. Okay, I was gonna ask you if we have new commissioners, but we can come back to that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So, good morning again, everybody. I am here to give you a quick update on the city's comprehensive plan implementation and also to specifically talk about how we have more fully incorporated the playbook guidelines for quality development that were approved with the playbook into the development review process that the long-range planners do. So to start off, just to review what I mean when I'm talking about our quality development guidelines, the new comprehensive plan has guidelines that were put forward to make sure that every part of the city, no matter where you're located, is getting quality development, but that's also sensitive to the existing character of an area. These guidelines are going to be applied to both public and private projects. So that is any major projects that the city is undertaking, as well as the development proposals that come through our department. The guidelines are broken out into 3 categories. The first one is the goal supporting criteria. Those are 10 statements that relate to the playbook's 10 goals for the city and developing over the next 20 years. They're pretty high level, broad statements that just really speak to making sure a project generally is helping us to accomplish our goals. The global design guidelines are a little bit more specific in the guidance they are providing. They are still citywide standard quality development things that we are looking for in projects to make sure that they're enhancing the city and contributing to what we're trying to do. And then development form guidelines, those are going to get much more specific into the land use and really detailed things like architecture, landscaping, things like that, that we look for in a project. So there's 3 different levels of the guidelines themselves, and they kind of break out that way. So most of the playbooks guidelines that we adopted with the plan came directly from development guidelines that we already had in the city's 18 area plans. We just wanted to elevate those to the playbook to make sure that they were being applied citywide. And we do have plans to, enhance and expand those guidelines that were already in place. We know over many years of using the guidelines for case reviews, there were some areas where we could improve those, streamline them a little bit. So we are working on that as well. And we did have a couple of meetings for the development community to come in and talk to our planners and our staff about these guidelines, just really to make sure that they were aware that we've been using most of these guidelines for a long time for case reviews already. We're just modifying the process that we go through and making sure that they are visible on the staff report to see how much a project is in compliance with the playbook itself. So we held a couple of open houses for development community to come in and ask us any questions about the guidelines and how they're applied to their projects. So we will be using these playbook guidelines in addition to the area plans as well, because those do still have our future land use maps. Just a side note, our division is going to be kicking off the process to update the city's 18 area plans next summer. So you'll be seeing a lot more of us when it comes to those processes as well. And we wanted to make sure that we were strategically applying these guidelines to cases where they would be the most influential in their feedback. So these guidelines, we have a checklist that our long-range planning staff is going to be using. And they will be used against cases that are parent or controlling projects. So something that really has a significant impact on that space, that lot, what it's being used for. Usually it's going to involve, rezoning or something that is significantly altering what might be going on there right now. So that would be applicable to development plans, master plan developments, special use permits, anytime we're rezoning to a UR district, preliminary plats, and then project plans that have new construction involved. So those are the cases that we will be specifically applying the checklist to, because they have all of those elements that really led us to comprehensively evaluate the project. And we wanted to put forward a recommendation from staff on the compliance or the alignment of the project with the playbook itself. We landed on providing an assessment that determines if the plan is very likely to be in alignment with the playbook, or if it's likely, unlikely, or very unlikely. That is going to be a general evaluation from staff in city planning and development that after the development review process, we've talked with the developer, we've made recommendations about how to improve their project and bring it more in alignment with the playbook. At the point of when we bring it to the City Plan Commission, whatever recommendations may or may not have been incorporated into the project, we wanted to give you a general idea about where we thought that it landed in its alignment with the playbook in general.
So can I
Yeah, of
interrupt real
course.
quick? So on these kind of reviews, when are they done? Are they done early in the process as part of the
Yeah.
Initial meeting to talk about the project, or kind
Mhm.
of after some submitted?
So we have a checklist that the DMD planners provide to applicants that lists out all of the things that they are required to turn in with their applications. We will be adding the playbook checklist as a reference point for them at that beginning stage so that they know ahead of time, these are the guidelines that we will be using for case evaluations. We can also mention this to the developers at our pre-application meetings, which happen before an application is even submitted. We also plan to make this information easily available on our website so that people can refer to it early on in the process. The first evaluation against the checklist will happen when the application is submitted. Staff will have their initial evaluation, and we have internal discussions, and then we have the development review committee meeting. At that point, staff would be able to bring forward any recommendations of conditions or corrections they think that need to be applied to the project to bring it more in line with the comprehensive plan itself. And then we would have that discussion with the developer. The result of that discussion would bring you to the City Plan Commission staff report, where you'll see where we think it falls in this very likely, very unlikely spectrum, and what we think additionally should be conditioned on the project to really bring it in alignment with the playbook.
Okay, let's, so again, it's at the very front end as a project is brought in that first, hey, we're thinking about doing this. And then, but at the same time, if it's, as they go through and it's unlikely, very unlikely, is that like going towards a denial of the project recommendation, or is that if they don't want to change anything, or what's your thought there?
Mm.
It's one factor that will be weighed into a overall staff recommendation. Initially, it'll be more likely to be things that need to be changed on the site plan. But if it's, I suppose if it's severe enough, of a misalignment with the playbook, it could impact the staff recommendation to lean towards denial, I suppose, yeah.
Okay,
But I think that would be more of an extreme example. This is more, yeah.
yeah, hopefully that gets worked out.
Right,
About the
right.
whole review process. Okay,
And just to add, this will be part of the staff report, and Morgan does have a picture of where it will be in the staff report, so you'll know where to look for it. We'll go into more detail on that.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So as I mentioned, you beat me to the punch.
Oh, sorry.
So staff will discuss any proposed corrections to the plan at the DRC meeting with the applicant. We will negotiate on applying those corrections or bringing those to the City Plan Commission and asking, hey, we think these are elements that really could be improved, and we would like to apply them to the project as well. So this is your staff report. We are not changing it very drastically at all, but on the right or the left-hand column, you'll see a section at the bottom circled in red that says KC Spirit Playbook Alignment. We'll have the case number listed there, any additional case numbers that are also related to that one project, as many of these parent or controlling cases do come in with several applications. So there we will identify if it's very unlikely or very likely, unlikely, likely, very likely. We will identify there right on the front page, the general overall applicability of the project to playbook compliance. And then on what's usually the next page in your staff report, we have our plan review, plan analysis sections. And then right there under specific review criteria for development plans, project plans, and site plans, we have a section that discusses if the plan is complying with all standards in the zoning and development code and other applicable city ordinances and policies. That is where the comprehensive plan falls under. So section A will feature any conditions or corrections that the long-range planning and development management division, any corrections that we feel still stand as far as bringing the project into more compliance with the playbook. Any questions on that?
Is, I guess my first question is, do you have enough staff to go through all of these and put everything together?
I think
It's
so.
just beyond you too, right?
Yeah, we have, we're in the process now of hiring us, our 6th long-range planners. We have one for each council district. So yeah, we feel like full staff, we should be able to handle these. And we're trying to streamline the process too, so that it's not
Okay.
too burdensome on our staff's time.
Yeah, I've been experimenting with different online form tools that allow us to determine if, from the 10 goal supporting criteria, for example, one of those statements may not be actually applicable to the case in front of us. So I've been experimenting with different online forms that allow us to collapse non-applicable sections and then fill out the other sections, print a report. So we've been working with tools to help our staff kind of streamline this process. That also is related to the development form and context guidelines. So I don't want to get you confused with all of these titles because they are a little bit similar right now. That's one of the things that we will be modifying as we go through this. The development form and context guidelines are going to be an expanded version of the development form guidelines that are currently in the playbook and that are currently being applied to cases. Those are the ones that have been in the area plans for many years now, and we've elevated them to the playbook. What we are going to be doing, what staff is currently working on, is we are going to be adding context to these considerations. So the form part tells you, are you located in a neighborhood? Are you in a corridor? Are you in a district? Are you in a node? Those are very, they're pretty specifically defined planning concepts of a certain area that we want to pay special attention to. What we're also going to be doing is adding in a context section. So are you in an urban area, an urban suburban transitional area, a suburban area, a rural area? You want to have different guidelines for those particular contexts because they are very different from each other. We're not going to design an urban neighborhood the same way we design a suburban neighborhood. So we're building out those form guidelines to add context. We will be bringing a full set of those to you for review and discussion at some point in the coming weeks. So just keep an eye out for those. It's another opportunity we're using to kind of streamline this process. And just a quick update on other implementation items we're working on. We have been in discussions with management and city manager's office about potential development code amendments to really kind of streamline some processes. There's some things related to housing. There's some things that we're looking at to really improve the code and how it allows development to happen in the city. We're also looking into setting up a framework for coordinating with our fellow city departments. Obviously, this playbook touches on policy areas that span the spectrum of all of the city departments. So we're working on ways to increase our coordination with other departments so that we can start to accomplish these big playbook projects. We're expanding our dashboard for right now. I know Kobe, you guys have seen it. It's one page that has all of the elements of the playbook, and you can select one to highlight, what recommendations come with a particular topic area, for example. We're going to be expanding that dashboard to include the measures of success or the metrics that we talked about when we passed the playbook so that we can track those over time, report out them on an annual or biannual basis, and people can actually see the progress that we're making with implementation. We're creating a new playbook website that's going to be a lot more user-friendly than our current one. We're pretty excited about that, so we'll be bringing that one to you here pretty soon. And also, we're going to keep in touch with the public, everybody that participated in the process. We're going to continue to do some playbook newsletters, keep everyone engaged and aware of the things that we're working on. So with that, I can answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Hill asked if the slides can be emailed out.
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay.
I also have a PDF of the full guidelines that I've created in their current iteration, so I can provide that to the commission as well.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? I don't think we're doing any public testimony at this time, correct?
Don't think so.
Okay. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, everything.
Happy New Year, everyone.
All right, let's go on to docket item number 2.
Okay.
Wait 1 second. I had one question. Sorry. What's the area plans? What's the time frame? Are you updating some now? And which ones?
We are preparing to start updating the 18 area plans in May. So we're hoping to do 3 a year. And we maybe come back to you with a more formal presentation on that, but and I would hesitate to say which the first 3 are going to be since we haven't really, we think we know which ones those are going to be, but we want to have conversations with management before we announce that publicly. But we are gearing up to do those area plan updates starting in May, and we're hoping to do 3 a year. So we're trying to formulate a 6-month process for each of those. It would complete it before 2030. So yeah, we're making plans for the first time I've made a project schedule that goes out to 2030.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. All right, let's go on to docket item number 2, please.
Docket item number 2 is case CPC 2023-00171, a request to approve the 100 East 20th Street PIEA and declare the area blighted and unsanitary and in need of redevelopment and rehabilitation pursuant to the Missouri Planned Industrial Expansion Authority law on about 1.04 acres generally located at 100 East 20th Street. And the staff planner is Andrew Clark.
Good morning, Chairman Crowell and fellow commissioners.
Good morning.
Share my screen. So before you today is CDCPC 2023-171. This is a tax incentive plan for 100 East 20th Street. And the subject property is located in the 4th Council District within the crossroads. You can see the site is outlined in yellow. It runs from 19th to 20th Street, and it's bounded by Walnut and an alley. This is where the farm to market bread used to be located. This is looking north from East 20th Street. And then here we are looking south from East 19th. Staff does not comment on the blight studies, but our recommendation is approval without conditions. And that concludes staff's presentation to hand off to Mr. McCoopery here.
Okay, we're just looking at the actual blight piece right now in the PIA, no site plan or anything at this point in time, correct? Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning and Happy New Year, Chairman Crown Commission. Thank you. My name is David McCoopery. I am the Executive Director with the PIEA. We are the applicant in this matter. Our consultant, Pat Sterrett with Sterrett Urban, is on the call. So if you please promote him. He is our consultant and will be presenting the blight study and the general development plan. The proponent of the plan is Jerry Riffle, represents from the Lathrop Gage law firm. He represents them. He is on the call as well as his client, I believe. So if I may, Chairman Crowell, introduce Pat Sterrett.
Sure. Hear him yet? Let's see.
There we go.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Pat Sterrett of Sterrett Urban LLC, 704 Cantor Street in Raymore. As noted, here to present to you the proposed general development plan of the 100 East 20th Street PIEA planning area and the accompanying qualifications analysis. As Mr. Clark noted, the boundaries from 19th Street to 20th Street and Walnut Street on the west and a north-south alley there to the east. Located at the northeast corner of 20th Street and Walnut Street, it's about 1 acre, just more than 1 acre. Currently owned by Safranda Mo LLC. They purchased the property in August of 2021. The property is currently under contract to the plan proponent. Existing conditions, the existing improvements, there are two buildings on the site constructed in the 1950s. One is fronting onto East 20th Street. It's the building that you see in the photo there on the slide. 2 stories, just over 21,000 square feet. The other one-story building that you saw a photo of earlier that's fronting 19th Street at 1905 Walnut is 1 story and just over 7,500 square feet. Used to be used as an Anheuser-Busch distributorship. As noted, most recently, the building you see in the photo there was used as a farm-to-table location. The one-story building used to be a bearings distributorship there that was fronting on the 19th Street. Both buildings are currently 100% vacant and have been for 1 to 2 years. The general development plan, developers must satisfy the greater downtown area plan and the Spirit of KC playbook guidelines that you just saw the presentation about. The land use is downtown mixed use with no change anticipated. Design guidelines, as I mentioned, rezoning will go from DX-15, the current zoning, to urban redevelopment, and the plan calls for a 10-year timeframe for completion. Anticipated PIEA assistance is tax abatement, 10 years at 75% and another 5 years at 37.5%. And that's not guaranteed, but that's up to per the city policies that are in place. Bonds may also be a part of the assistance in the future. It is a non-distressed census tract that the plan is located in. Proposed redevelopment, multiple phases, renovation and demolition, perhaps of the existing buildings on site. Mixed use space could be commercial and multifamily. Everything would be within the bounds of the greater downtown area plan. Statutory definition, which I think most folks on the commission are familiar with, for blight is insanitary or unsafe conditions, deterioration of site improvements, and conditions which endanger life or property by fire or other causes. Those 3 factors then cause 1 or more of the effect factors, including retarding provision of housing accommodations, or economic liability, or a social liability, or a menace to public health, safety, morals, or welfare in its present condition and use. Insanitary or unsafe conditions that exist within the property include obsolete or non-functioning building systems, life safety, electrical, HVAC, building enclosure, and a lack of restrooms are all either non-functioning or non-existent within the 2 buildings. There is lack of accessibility with the building on 20th Street as there is no operating passenger elevator. There's quite a bit of pigeon excrement in the building that fronts 20th Street. As without the building enclosure, pigeons have been able to access the interior of the building. There are tripping and fall hazards throughout the site due to deteriorated pavement and fall hazards, especially within the building that fronts 20th Street. As you can see in the photo on the left, HVAC has been disconnected and discontinued throughout the building on 20th Street. And there you see another photo of the building on 20th Street with the building enclosure missing on the ground floor. There you see tripping hazards. There's also pigeon excrement there on the left and lack of building enclosure on the 1-story building that fronts 19th Street on the right. Pigeon excrement there, that's in the building that fronts 20th Street. There is graffiti as well. That's the 1-story building that fronts onto 19th Street. Again, tripping hazards within the interior of the building fronting 20th Street. Sidewalk is also in poor condition there on 19th Street. Deterioration throughout the site includes aging and deteriorating improvements. That includes primarily walls, windows, and doors. There is failure or damage of interior and exterior finishes, and then secondarily deterioration of pavement for the surface parking that exists between the 2 buildings on the site. You also see here a shattered window. On the right, you see the lack of the building enclosure and deterioration of interior finishes. Again, deterioration of interior finishes on both of these photos. Both of these are in the building that fronts onto 20th Street. And likewise here, deterioration of finishes. Deterioration of the pavement. This is the surface parking lot that exists between the two buildings. And again, deterioration of building elements. This is on the back side of the building that fronts on the 20th Street in the dock area. And this is the stairs that lead up to the patio on 20th Street. And that's there on the right, missing windows on the building that fronts on the Walnut. Altogether, the parcel shows insanitary or unsafe conditions, deterioration of site improvements, and existence of conditions which endanger life or property by fire and other causes. That's with a lack of life safety systems as well as the pigeon excrement. So parcels with a preponderance of blighting factors, this parcel certainly qualifies for that. That leads to an economic liability evidenced by reduced negligible income, low assessed values. It's one of a handful of properties in Crossroads that actually did not have an increase in assessed value this past year in 2023. It has low tax revenue compared to other mixed-use properties, and the impaired economic value is brought about by physical deterioration, the insanitary, unsafe conditions that exist, as well as the high vacancy. Social liability is brought about by non-functioning, inadequate, or non-existent building systems. That includes life safety, accessibility, utilities, and the building enclosure, non-compliance with modern codes, and the pigeon excrement. It poses a menace to public health, safety, morals, and welfare due to the deteriorated and insanitary conditions that are a threat to health and unsafe conditions which are a threat to safety. As a result, we've concluded that as of November 1, 2023, the date of inspection, in its present condition and use, the area is a blighted area according to the definition provided in Missouri's Industrial Department statutes. And that concludes my presentation. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission?
I have a few questions.
Go ahead.
All right, my first question is, how long has the existing property owner owned this parcel?
The existing property owner has owned it for 2 years. They are not the plan proponent. The plan proponent that is wishing to have this included as a PIA plan has the property under contract. So it had previously been proposed as being included in a PIA planning area back in 2006. But was excluded before it was presented to the City Plan Commission back then at the request of the then the then property owner of the property.
Okay, so they've occupied it for 2 years without any treatments on the building to ensure safety. I'm wondering if there have been any 311 complaints filed against it. The question I have for you is, can you help me understand the difference between a blighted parcel and a blighted area? Because I hear when you're talking about the definitions, you say the area is blighted, but right now, all I've seen is conditions of a parcel being blighted.
Right, the parcel is the planning area. There's just one parcel within the planning area. So, and my apologies for the confusion. The saying parcel and area are pretty much in this case interchangeable.
Okay, because in our previous, when people come before this commission, talk about a blighted area, they talk about properties that are located next to or across. They talk about like a contiguous area is not just a parcel. So when I think about the Crossroads, I don't think about a blighted area. When I think about 20th and Prospect or 25th or Truce, I think blighted area. So I just want to get some clarity around when we're talking about a parcel that an individual has owned for 2 years or someone has owned for multiple years and have not had any, I have not tried on any attempts to rectify some of the issues to increase sanitation or safety. So just curious about that. And is it your conclusion that this meets the but-for without tax incentives? You don't see that there's development potential of this parcel that's located in a vibrant community?
Development proposals eventually, and maybe Mr. McCoubry might answer this as well. There will be a call for development proposals, at which time a financial analysis will be conducted on those proposals. And at that time is when the but-for test will be examined, and to see if the developer certainly needs public assistance, and at what level, if that's necessary.
Thank you. So, but currently you're saying 15 years, 10 years at 100%, 5 years. And at this juncture, have you reached out to the library or the school district to see what that impact will mean for them for 10 years?
Not at this time, not until we receive a proposal from a developer.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, could you speak to the conditions regarding accessibility and non-compliance of modern codes?
Sure. Modern codes in this instance would be any kind of building systems, which would be electrical, HVAC, plumbing, none of which exists within the two buildings right now. There's no elevator that provides access to the second floor. There's no compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, which isn't uncommon, especially for buildings constructed in the mid-50s, considering the ADA wasn't approved until the early 90s. But those are the non-compliance with those kinds of accessibility and with modern codes.
And can you remind me, would lack of accessibility and compliance to ADA standards, would that be sufficient in and of itself to qualify as blighted?
Yes. I mean, right now, the two buildings are not habitable. You wouldn't be able to have anyone occupy either of these two buildings because of the non-compliance.
Well, and the reason I'm trying to separate accessibility from the others is because I'm kind of in the belief that someone who owned the property at one point in time created those conditions. Do you happen to know when Farm to Market Bread inhabited the buildings last?
I do not. I think it was at least a couple of years ago. But whether someone's occupied the building or not, as long as those conditions exist within the statutory definition of blight, it's my belief that this parcel, at least you could make the finding that it is blighted.
And again, just to clarify, so if I were to believe that, because I don't want to incentivize someone to remove HVAC, for example, there's a picture of HVAC ducts that had been removed. And so that's now a condition that you're using to find blight. So if I don't want to use as qualifications vacancy, because I think that could have been imposed upon by the owner themselves, HVAC that's been disconnected, graffiti, which I think is the property owner's responsibility to clean up, shattered window, every tenant's required to have plate glass insurance typically. So that's something that the owner or tenant usually pays for. If none of those conditions suffice by itself, would you qualify this as blighted based upon accessibility issues in terms of ADA compliance?
The statute mentions that a property is to be evaluated in its present condition and use. In this case, though, I want to make sure that it's made clear that the conditions that have taken place or the lack thereof, any kind of improvements over the past 2 years are by a property owner that is currently selling the property. The planned proponent here in this case that wants to do something with the property has the property under contract. So it's the prospective redeveloper who hasn't been negligent in this case, but who is actually going to do something with the property.
Sure. And in your professional opinion, if this is not something that is within your realm, perhaps Mr. McCoubry be within yours, what is the potential value of the 75% tax abatement for 10 years to the potential new owner?
Well, there's no way for me to determine that at this point. I mean, our action today is seeking to make this parcel or this area eligible for the PIA's incentives. It doesn't grant tax abatement. There's a whole separate process called the advanced KC process, which includes a financial analysis, which will quantify the number that you just requested. So
Yeah.
don't know yet.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because in theory, one could inflate the value of their building by qualifying it for a tax abatement. And so if you have a building today that is in fine shape, but you go ahead and gut it and don't keep it up for 2 years, you might actually increase the value for a sale. And so in effect, what we wouldn't want to do is incentivize that type of behavior or benefit the owner that did that, even if it is going to be sold to a new property owner.
Possibly. It's difficult to say. Yeah, this property, after the bread company left, suffered quite a bit of vagrancy, obviously vandalism, things like that. So it was causing and people getting in stealing the copper metal from the HVAC system. So they had to preserve it and secure it and lock it down. And that's basically where this property is at this point.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty common practice in the crossroads to have to secure your property from vagrancy and from people stealing copper. I think that's a baseline responsibility of building owners. And again, what I don't want to see is us incentivizing this behavior. So the last question is, again, if it were purely based upon accessibility and conditions that, let's say, 6 years ago when the building was when there's a tenant in the building, would it have qualified as blighted at that time if we're removing any conditions that could have been created in the past 5 years?
I don't know. I've been through the property handful of times really, but before 2021, I wasn't in, so I can't speak to that. Sorry.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
Go
can I follow? I just want to follow up. I thought Commissioner Enders raised a good question. So the potential buyer of this property, is the property under contract, or does that have to be executed? Are there any conditions where that contract needs to be executed before there is an approval of blight, or let me start there, before there's an approval of blight?
No, there's no requirement in that.
Okay, and then the potential buyer can wait until there's a financial analysis to submit a tax incentive request before purchasing, or do they have to then purchase the property prior to that?
Mr. McCooey can probably answer this as well, but someone could have control, for example, with an option on a property while applying for some assistance, as long as they have some there need to be some approval by the existing property owner for them to do so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think, and just commission in general, if we want to not incentivize people to purchase these properties and hold on to them till they go into further disrepair and then able to sell them at an increased cost because there is the potential of now there being blight and having a tax incentive. I think that's something in the regulatory policy that we need to work on, because right now I think it does incentivize people to, the further building deteriorates, the better it is at proving blight.
Yeah, commissioners, just make sure you understand, we're just a piece of the overall decision process, and our focus is more on the land use and what's going on with the actual property itself. There's somebody else that's in charge of all the PIA, the tax incentives and that's not our group's decision on that. So just making sure we're clear with that.
Yeah, I totally understand. But when we're thinking about this comprehensive playbook, I think that whether it's talking to the council or the city planning commission, not the commission, but the department needs to be thinking about how these pieces work together. Because you're right, we get here and it's like, oh, it falls in appropriate land use, but then our approval also goes forward to the other bodies.
Yep, I agree. Thank you. Any other questions from the commission to the applicant? Looks like your attorney wanted to say a few things as well.
Please so.
Mr. Riffle?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Jerry Riffle, Lathrop GPM. I represent the Emprise Bank. The Emprise Bank is headquartered in Wichita, Kansas. My client is interested, if this plan is approved, on building, making a large investment in this block. It would be a facility that the bank would own and operate. It would bring new earnings tax, new employees, all kinds of advantages, we believe, to Kansas City, Missouri. They want to be located in Kansas City, not in its suburbs. And we have great interest in the property and are just appearing here in support of the PIEA. If you have any questions, we're here.
Okay, any questions yet for the applicant?
No, sir.
Okay, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony then. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item 2, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
Mr. Chair, no one in the chambers wishes to speak and no one online has raised their hand.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. Anything else to add, applicants?
Thank you.
Okay, this time we'll close testimony then, speak amongst the commission. Any thoughts?
So I fully understand we're determining if the site is blighted or not, and I don't want to do that in a vacuum. I don't think that the applicant is the one who loses out if we don't determine this property to be blighted. Because I believe what's happening is that the current owner of the building would then get an inflated sale price. Again, this should not be the way that we judge these things. But we are then asking the taxpayer to pay for the dilapidation that we've seen over the past multiple years. In theory, someone could purchase a building, promote it, try to sell it to people with unrealistic expectations of who should be in there. And then after years of not getting that top dollar, without having developed it, just putting out nice renderings of what should be there, then you can go ahead and let the building go into disarray and improve the value, because the next applicant who's willing to go through the work can get the taxpayer to pay for the conditions that have been made and created. And so based upon this building having, I have good familiarity with it, and based upon my recent familiarity with it not being blighted in my recollection, I will not be supporting the blight recommendation.
Anybody else?
I totally agree with Commissioner Enders.
Okay, any thoughts over here?
I'm in support with Commissioner Enders as well. I'm in support with Commissioner Enders too.
Okay. I guess I'm the only one not in support of that. I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's not the taxpayers paying dollars today to this. It's just a valuation of the property itself that will be maintained at the current rate moving forward. And then the new rate, once the improvements are in, won't be realized until a future date. But I'm looking again at this as a project that has to do with the land use itself and not the tax incentives or breaks on that, because that's somebody else's department to look into that.
I think that if a building's worth $1 million and someone knows that there's $200,000 of potential tax abatements, then that changes the value. If those are off the table, the seller might be encouraged to sell it at a lower price, and you might get development there faster, actually, that produces more taxable revenue. And again, looking at just the blighted conditions, I think that we need to look at the duration for which a place is blighted and how it becomes to be blighted. I think we've seen too many projects where there were many opportunities for past owners to ensure that this was not a blighted building. Again, I have good familiarity with the building, and there were lots of opportunities that people did not take. And what I don't want people to determine is that that's the best way to sell a building in Kansas City, is to let it deteriorate.
Okay, I'll take a motion then.
Chair Crowley, I move to recommend denial of the finding of blight for docket number 2.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for denial of finding blight for docket item number 2. Paulina, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Baker.
Aye.
Crowe.
No.
Enders.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye.
Hasek.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Looks like the motion is passed as 5-1 for approval of denial of the finding of blight. Thank you. Thank you. All right, with that, let's move on to docket item number 3 then.
Docket item number 3 is case number CPC 2023-00158. A request to approve a rezoning from District B3-2 to District M1-1 on about 6 acres generally located at 7780 East US Highway 40 Highway. And Matthew Barnes is presenting on behalf of Justin Smith.
Morning.
Good morning. Give me 1 second to get this. Okay, good morning. As stated, we have docket item number 3, which is rezoning for 7780 East US Highway 40 from B2-2 to M1-5. This site is located in the eastern portion of Kansas City, kind of near I-70, I-435, and US Highway 40. Here's a closer view as well. You can see the stadiums to the southeast and its location to the 435 and 70 junction. This closer view out of the site to the north, you can see the land is zoned M1-5, and the corridor along US Highway 40 has a B3-2 zoning. The Riverfront Industrial Area Plan recommends light industrial for the subject site. This request is in line with that area plan recommendation. Here's a view of the site in October 2023. And here's kind of looking east from Highway 40 towards the site as well. And a little bit west. The area is approximately 6 acres. The applicant is requesting B3 to M1-5 rezoning. This is to allow for future redevelopment. They are looking to do outdoor storage of equipment and materials. And this matches the Riverfront Industrial zoning area plan. And this is just the review criteria. It is in conformance with the area plan as recommended. And no area plan amendment is required. With that, staff recommends approval for the rezoning at 7780 East US Highway 40. I can take any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the commission to city staff? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant then, if the applicant is available.
Matt, do you know who the applicant is?
My staff, Justin said. Andrew Fisher.
Andrew Fisher is not online.
Okay, let's go ahead and hold the case then and come back to it after a while. Okay. All right, so let's move on to docket item number 4, please.
You need to recuse from this one.
Okay.
Okay. Docket item number 4 is CDROW 2023-00044. A request to approve a vacation of public right-of-way on about 6,500 square feet, generally located at the southeast corner of West 9th Street and Wyoming Street. And Matthew Barnes is a staff member.
Okay, for docket item number 4, we have the vacation of right of way for West Bottoms Flats. This is case CD ROW 2023-00044. It's located in the West Bottoms, just west of downtown. There's a closer view yet. You can see its location to 670 to the south and 12th Street Viaduct also to the south there. Closer view yet, 9th Street is to the north, Wyoming is to the west. The area request to be vacated is highlighted in yellow. Here's a view looking east from Wyoming Street. You can see that the applicant has improved the alleyway there. The alleyway goes basically to where that empty portion is there. So this is located within the West Bottoms Flat development. This is an apartment community. In blue, the applicant is associated with all the ownership around there. There's 2 LLCs, West Bottom Flats LLC in blue and Twain LLC in red. So the applicant owns 100% of adjacent property as stated. It is currently accessible. This slide is wrong, I'm sorry. But does not truly serve a future purpose. The applicant is responsible for retaining utility easements and for existing utilities. The applicant is requesting the alley vacation in order to maintain the alley and program for events within the development and could secure the area. With that, staff recommends approval subject to conditions for the vacation of West Bottoms Flats. I can take any questions.
All right, any questions from commission to city staff? Okay, let's go ahead.
Who owns the land next to the hallway?
Directly adjacent. That is by the same ownership group. Everything around that alley is the same ownership group.
Even the land is not developed?
Yes, yeah.
Lot next
yeah.
to it.
Any other questions for staff? All right, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant then. Good morning.
Morning.
You'll be able to, let me load it up and then we will.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Alex Reed with Lathrop GPM Law Firm here in Kansas City, and I'm here on behalf of MCM Company, Inc., the developer and the owner of those properties. And so I just have a very brief presentation, and I want to make a couple of points. So as I said, the developer is MCM Company, Inc., and Missy Furchill, I believe, is on Zoom, and I'll introduce her in a second to make a few comments. So these are the development consists of the Abernathy Lofts, Wyoming Lofts, Liberty Lofts, and then the forthcoming Midwest Lofts. And so this is similar picture to what Matt just showed, but as you can see, the alley to be vacated is this highlighted red area. And then there will be an alley that's maintained to the south, right here, the area that's not highlighted. And so there's just a couple of pictures here of the before and after. And so you can see that where this red arrow is pointing, it's blocked a little bit by the camera views, but that is the alley that will be vacated. And this is the before and after photos of showing the development. And same, the alley to be vacated is to the left of this courtyard in the after photo. And then finally, this is the alley. What you can see in this picture is this is the alley that will be unaffected. So that's the alley that's going to be maintained. And so before I hand it off to Missy, and I think Jerry Riffle might be speaking a little bit too if he's on, I just want to emphasize that there's been substantial investment by MCM Company into this development in these alleys, and they are required to maintain the infrastructure, stormwater infrastructure, and et cetera, in that alley. And then another thing to note is a lot of these, a number of the buildings have historic protections through facade easements. And so it limits the ability to make any changes that would affect the appearance of those facades on a majority of the alley that would be vacated. And with that, I'll hand it over to Missy Furchill. I believe she's on. Yep, I can see her.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. Hi, Commission. It's nice to meet you. My name's Missy Furchill. I'm the owner of MCM Company, and we've developed the West Bottom Flats development in Kansas City. I appreciate your time today. So we, as Alex mentioned, we've done all the improvements within the alleys and within the courtyards around the historic buildings at West Bottoms. And as Alex also mentioned, we created the historic district down in the West Bottoms that's protected all of the buildings north of 12th Street. We expanded the district recently within the last year to include additional buildings. That includes over 100 buildings down in the West Bottoms. All of the improvements that you see around the buildings that we currently own, including the Midwest building that we just recently purchased within the last year that we intend to redevelop to an additional 80 units. Is also owned by us and will be redeveloped into a mixed-use development, including 80 units plus retail entertainment space on the first floor. We are responsible for maintaining all of the stormwater management and utilities within the alleys around our buildings, including the ones that we're asking you to vacate today. One of the biggest reasons why we'd like to see them vacated is we've spent significant dollars improving the streetscape around the buildings and creating secured parking lots as well in order to keep the area safe and clean and well managed. And unfortunately, people are parking around and down those alleys, and we're unable to control that. And it creates fire access issues around the buildings. And also, it makes it difficult for us to be able to maintain those alleys in the way that we would like to see them maintained. So we're asking for the ability to be able to vacate those so that we have better control over the parking and the maintenance and the fire access around the buildings that are our responsibility as well. So, and they would be upgraded in a similar manner as what you see on the alley that we're maintaining and the courtyards that you see within our development. And as Alex mentioned, all of our buildings have restricted easements on them because they're historic. So we would be unable to build within that alleyway, those alleyways in the future as well.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Is the intent for controlling the traffic simply removable bollards?
We would hope to not have to use ballards if we don't need to. We were thinking that we might put heavy planters at the end, something that's a little bit less restrictive, concrete planters that we can control, and hopefully that will deter people from trying to park in between the alleys. So we're able then to do events there. So we have a new retail tenant that's coming in. Alex, can you go to the site plan for me?
Should be 3. Yep.
Yeah, perfect. So we have a retail tenant that's going into the first floor of the Abernathy West building. It's a shuffleboard entertainment venue that'll open in March. So the goal would be, and then we'll have a retail tenant in the first floor of the Midwest building. So the goal would be for them to be able to spill out into that courtyard area and be able to do events between the two buildings. So ideally, we'd like to not have to block it off with anything permanent, but to maybe use heavy planters or something like that, that then can deter people from parking there or using that space for parking during the summer months. And if you go down there, I don't know if you guys get down there very often, but you'll notice that parking lot that you see to the west of the Abernathy West building has 4 outdoor shuffleboard courts right now. So we're trying to create a vibrant outdoor space. We do a lot of outdoor events during the summer where we invite everyone who's down in the bottoms to participate. So we're trying to really create a vibrant neighborhood down in the bottoms that's exciting and accessible to all of our neighbors. So we're hoping to be able to do the same thing with that alley space between the two buildings, the Midwest Building and Abernathy West.
And in terms of the potential planters, then the reason I was asking, apologies if this is in the staff report and I missed it. Sometimes with vacations, we see removable traffic barriers just for fire access. Is there fire access required in that alley?
There's not fire access required in that alley. We would still have access from the alley that runs north-south to be able to access those buildings. And we can access from 9th Street, from Wyoming Street, and then from the alley to the south of Wyoming and the Liberty Building.
Great, thanks.
My pleasure.
Yeah, the fire department had a review and they did not have any issues with
Great, thanks.
vacation.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and open it up for any public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 4, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
Mr. Chair, no one in the chamber wishes to speak and no one online has raised their hand.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. I guess I had one last question here for the applicant, just looking at parcel viewer, and is it the same people that own, so West Bottoms Midwest LLC, or are you the same as Twain She XXI LLC?
Yes, sir. They're our investment partners.
Okay. All right.
They own the ground, sir, and we own the buildings in those on those particular parcels.
Okay, yeah, because it's kind of a mix between the two as you go around the properties, around the alleyways to be, abandoned, whatever.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's correct.
All right, if there's nothing else to add, we'll go ahead and close testimony and speak amongst the commission. If there's nothing to discuss, I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowley, move to approve docket item number 4 with conditions.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 4 with conditions. Paulina, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Crowe,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kasich.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like the motion passes 5-0. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck as you move forward.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go on to docket item number 5 then.
Docket item number 5 is case number ROW 2023-00047, a request to approve a vacation of a condominium plat in District R-0.5 and R-5 on about 0.8 acres, generally located at the southeast corner of East Armor Boulevard and Kenwood Avenue. And Matthew Barnes will present this on behalf of Justin Smith.
As he's getting ready for this, has anybody called or contacted the applicant for docket item 3?
He didn't answer the phone, so we'll give him a couple more minutes.
Yeah, we'll just come back after we get done with the other cases. We'll come back to that one.
Yep.
Okay, docket item number 5, which is a vacation of the condominium plat of Gabriel Condominium. So a condominium is a system of separate ownership for individual units. The only method that we have of vacating these is through this same process as vacation of alleys, streets, and plats. This is similar to the cases you saw last month for other condominium vacations. Building is currently platted as a condominium, and the applicant is the sole owner of every unit within that condominium. Approval of this vacation would return the structure into a multi-unit building, which is all under one ownership. This would also dissolve the condominium association and bylaws. No physical changes are expected to occur to the building. The site is located in the Midtown. Here's a closer view of its location to Armor Boulevard. You can see Locust, Cherry, Kenwood, and Holmes. within this photo as well. Here is a snippet of the approved condominium plat with each level shown as separate units. And here's a view of the condominium looking from South Armor Boulevard. Again, no changes are expected to occur to the building. With that, staff recommends approval for the vacation of the condominium at Gabriel Condominiums. I can take any questions.
Okay, any questions from the commissioners to city staff regarding docket item 5? Commissioner Hill, okay. With that, let's welcome the applicant then. Good morning.
Morning. My name is Travis Wymore. I'm an attorney with the Withers Brand, Igo and Mullenix law firm with offices in Liberty and Overland Park. I represent the owners of this building, Brett and Christy Burmeister of Rose Funding LLC. They acquired this property in 2015 with a view towards owning it as an apartment building, which is what they have done since acquiring it. The prior owner had a vision of apparently operating it as a condominium and therefore had it platted condos, but to my knowledge and research, none of the units were ever sold. And so my clients acquired it as a block and have operated it as an apartment building and will continue to do so in the future. The condo plat poses a couple of challenges, some administrative, some developmental. Obviously, having 32 plus separately taxed parcels is a challenge and more headache than it's worth. But from a development standpoint, the floor plan footprints of these units are a little bit odd at some instances, and they would like the opportunity as units become vacant in the future to potentially reconfigure some of them to offer some greater density, to maybe split some up into studio units. There's some unusual units that have a large living space plus a bedroom and 2 bathrooms, which could easily be bifurcated into 2 separate units at an affordable rate to offer some greater density within the building and to apply to some different tenants that have inquired. So that's the ultimate goal, but vacating the plat is step one. They can't get there without first dealing with this issue, but we'll continue to operate the building as an apartment building moving forward. Mr. Barnes's presentation was comprehensive, but I'm happy to pick up any questions that any of you would like to ask.
Any questions for the applicant? Just have kind of one. So now it's going into an apartment, you've got the management, HOA, everything set up for all the residents and how everything will be maintained and operated and managed and so on?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Any questions, Commissioner Hill?
No questions at this time.
Okay. All right, with that, let's go ahead and open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 5, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
Mr. Chair, no one in the chamber wishes to speak and no one has raised their hand online.
Okay, so we'll close public testimony then. Anything else to add?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right, with that, we'll close testimony and speak amongst the commission. If there's nothing to discuss, I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowley, move to approve docket item number 5 without conditions.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 5 without conditions. Paulina, can you take roll call, please?
Baker,
Aye.
Crowe,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Hasek.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes then 6-0. Thank you for bringing it in and good luck.
Thank you all very much.
All right, with that, let's go to docket item number 6, please.
Docket item number 6 is case number ROW 2023-00045. A request to approve a vacation of public right-of-way of Walnut Street of about 30,000 square feet, generally located on Walnut Street between East 39th Street and East 40th Street, and Matthew Barnes is the staff planner.
Okay, docket item number 6, the vacation of right-of-way for Walnut Street, case CD ROW 2023-00045. So, the site is located within the Midtown area. Here's a closer view. You can see Main Street to the east, Gillum Park to the, Main Street to the west, Gillum Park to the east, and Westport, district over to the west as well. Here's a closer view of the site. Again, this is for Walnut Street, kind of in the middle there. It is a southbound lane as identified by the red arrow. Main Street and Warwick are both two-way streets, and McGee further to the east is a southbound street as well. And I do want to bring attention to this condominium down here. There is an access driveway at the northern end of this property that with approval of vacation, would lose access to that. We'll discuss that later. St. Paul's Church owns all the land directly adjacent to the right-of-way request to be vacated, as highlighted in blue. The only other owner of right-of-way is the condominium at the southern end of the block highlighted in red. The applicant is not requesting a vacation past the property line to the south. Here is a view looking south from East 40th of Walnut. And here is a view looking north on Walnut as well from 41st Street. You can see the one-way designation of the street from this view. The vacation approval criteria, 88-560-10A, says that all property owners shall adjacent to the right-of-way shall have legal access to another public right-of-way. There is 2 parcels that are owned by the church that will lose their access to public right-of-way. These would need to be consolidated into the adjacent parcels that already have legal frontage or recorded cross-access easement. The retention of right-of-way serves no current purpose and no future useful public purpose. The street serves as vehicular and pedestrian connectivity. This would vacation of this right of way would lose that pedestrian and vehicular connectivity going south. As stated for 10C, they will result in a violation of 405C as those 2 properties will lose the approved form of access and create 2 landlocked parcels. 560-10D, the vacation shall not disrupt the constructed street network or reduce existing physical connectivity. And this vacation will disrupt the street network and reduce physical connectivity. Walnut Street runs undisrupted from Armour Boulevard to East 45th Street. Vacating this portion of Walnut would result in the loss of a southbound street. And then 560-10E, the vacation shall not result in a dead end street or alley. The proposed vacation will result in a dead end street. They are only proposing to vacate Walnut Street 600 feet south of East 40th Street. There's approximately 220 feet of the street remaining as a dead end. And additionally, this portion of Walnut would not have any access as this is a one-way street which heads south. If approved, the applicant is responsible for retaining utility easements for KCMO Water Services, AT&T, Evergy, Spectrum, and Spire. They would also be responsible for relocating KCMO streetlights. As stated, they own 100% of adjacent property, and the condominiums to the south will lose access to the site from the north, as Walnut is a southbound one-way street. And the applicant and Public Works have been in conversations on other alternatives. Bailey Waters from Public Works is in the crowd and can provide any kind of testimony on alternatives the applicant may have other than vacating the right of way. With that, staff is recommending denial for docket item number 6, a vacation of right of way for Walnut Street.
So those discussions still taking place now with Public Works?
I believe so. Bailey would be able to speak on those further.
Okay.
Just to clarify, so Walnut starting at 39th and heading north is a northbound street. I'm looking at Google Maps. I just want to qualify if that's accurate. And then it was southbound south of 39th Street. Is that accurate?
I do not know for sure on north of 40th or 39th. I can look here.
It's just a one-way street in that one section between 40th and 41st. And when you get south again, it becomes 2-way, and north it's 2-way. So it's just one way on that one section.
That's definitely not what Google shows, but when I hear that it's uninterrupted from, Armour to 45th, it's something that, I, in my head, have the idea that someone could travel that way for quite some time, but if it is split where half of it is one way going northbound and half of it is southbound, then it kind of changes my perception of how valuable a connector it is.
Any other questions from the commissioners to city staff?
No.
All right, let's go ahead and welcome the applicant then. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Daniel Yoza. I'm with the Levy Craig Law Firm, 4520 Main Street, Suite 400. I represent St. Paul's School and in this matter. I'm here today basically just to introduce our speaker, the headmaster of the school, and to offer myself as a resource to talk about some of those conversations we've had about other alternatives. This matter is really about the safety of St. Paul students and the pedestrians in the area. The request is to vacate the street really to allow the school to control the access to the street for limited times during the school day. And with that, I will turn it over to Andrew Myler, who's the headmaster of St. Paul's Episcopal Day School.
Thank you. Again, my name's Andrew Myler. I appreciate being here. I'm the head of school at St. Paul's, been there for 10 years. As a school, we're celebrating our 60th anniversary this year. As an anchor in Midtown Kansas City, we began in the church basement, and now we have nearly 500 students on this property, ranging from toddler through 8th grade, 68 full-time faculty and staff. Our families come from 46 zip codes around the Kansas City metro. We grant nearly $1 million in tuition assistance and tuition remission to support those families and students. So we have a PowerPoint. I'm not sure if we can pull that up and just talk a little bit about the location. We've been down Main Street, 4041 Main Street. Our location is a blessing, but it's also a challenge for us operationally. Over time, I'm going to go to the location slide. That's the third one. Over time, the school and church, and we are a single legal entity, the school and church. So when we talk about the school and the church property, it is a single legal entity. Over time, where you see that the field size and the Walnut streetscape, the school and church have accumulated that property over the last 60 years. And so what we have happening is a lot of movement between the campus, the main campus, which you see in the lower portion of this document, and the upper field, whether it's for outdoor lunch, PE classes. We have a lot of community activities up here. So throughout the school day, we have students moving in and out of the buildings to the south, going up to the field. Our next master plan, because we are landlocked on this block, calls for us to program this space even more. So we're expecting moving forward in the future to have even more movement. And I think everyone in the area knows it's a school, and despite that, and despite the fact that there's currently signage, despite the fact that our faculty park really along Walnut there on the one side, we still see a lot of cut through traffic, people speeding. Doesn't matter whether it's during the school day, doesn't matter whether it's during carpool. And that's really created a security concern for us. Since I've been there, we've seen it escalate. We expect it to continue to escalate with Main Street and also the development that's happening. We've got the Cats property that's really close to the school. We've got the property down where Westport High School and Junior High School, we're gonna have even more density in the area, and we expect that to only increase. What started this whole process, we had a close call almost 3 years ago, and then actually right before the break, we had another close call, near accident. Actually during our carpool, we had students in the crosswalk with adults in the crosswalk, and hundreds of families lined up there to go. So what we're requesting, just pop down backgrounds I talked about. What we're requesting is really the ability to control the 600 feet down to the Englenet condos. So we'd like to have an access gate. There will not be any blockage of pedestrians. We expect pedestrians to move back and forth through that area throughout the day. We want pedestrians to do that. The church has a pantry that serves the neighborhood during the week that we're also a part of. So really what we're talking about is controlling traffic during our core school hours and then opening that gate back up so there wouldn't be any hindrance between the evenings and weekends. We also want to do the additional street calming measures that we talked about with the city, whether that's elevated walkways, changing the streetscape some. because what we've seen, whether it's open or closed, we have the same issue with people cutting through there. So this is not an either or for us, it's a both and. And so that's really what we're asking for. It's not, they could close it off permanently to everyone in the neighborhood. It's just really during these core school hours. The next one. So again, desired outcome primarily is student safety for our community. And again, related to movement back and forth across the campus and really to reduce vehicle speed and cut through traffic. Again, we're also blessed to have a super busy Starbucks right across the street. So it's just a very dense traffic area for our community and for the students. So just if you haven't seen it, never been by there, this is kind of what it looks like in the afternoon. You had a couple of pictures from the city where it was not, booked. This is what it looks like. It's super tight. And again, we move a lot of folks through there in a pretty brief period from around 3:20 to 3:45. But there's a lot of movement, a lot of traffic, our own traffic from our parents and community, but also additional community traffic. So it's quite a messy area. So why vacation instead of the other measures? We feel like, our primary goal is to control the traffic conflicts, and we feel like doing that during the school day would be the safest option for our kids. The other thing we really want to do is combine the campus. Again, we're split. When we started off 60 years ago, we didn't own any of that property. In fact, it was probably mostly apartments. And so over time, as we've purchased those, it's really become one campus, and that having a public street split that is a real challenge for our teachers and staff to manage with the students. We tried to go for a more temporary street closure permit or contract, and that was not something the city staff was wanting to do. And so we felt like vacation was our option to try to get this limited closure during the school day. In response to some of the, I'll talk about this again, the vacation area. It's a little different term. We're talking about stopping this before the Inglewood condominium. So they would have access from their parking lot off Warwick. They can actually exit onto Walnut and get out that way. So during the day, they couldn't come down Walnut Street, but that's not an entrance to their parking lot anyway. So right now they actually have it blocked off and closed. So if they were to kind of correct their parking lot, they could actually flow from Warwick and come out Walnut if they needed to and still come out that way and have two-way access from the street. So we're talking about this 600 feet. And again, just making sure it's clear that we don't want to do this 24/7. This is just during our core school hours, the nights, weekends, holidays. Whenever we're not open, this will be open to the community. Thank you. Talking about potential gate locations, what that might look like. One is all the way up near 40th Street. The other one would be closer down by if you've again been on the property, there's an access where people come to the pantry at the church, which is a little farther into the property, which would allow us to still do our carpool and kind of go from there. So again, those are what it may look like. I'm sure y'all seen an access control gate. That's an example of it. I can't promise it would be that one. So in response to, the code issues, in terms of the property, again, we are one single legal entity, so it may show the church owning a plat. We would be more than happy to combine those. And that's not an issue for us or for the church. The church is in full support of this move, as are our parents. Again, we own all the surrounding property with the exception of the Inglewood condos. We feel like they would have access and continued access with the way their building is currently organized. Moving down to 88-560-10B, this would allow public use during non-core school hours. We would obviously meet all the standards for any of the things that were involved in C and taking over the street. We would follow any guidelines from the city for the control. We don't feel like this disruption to the street network would be damaging to the core neighborhood. I think what it would do is push people who are cutting through there to better traffic options, whether that's Main Street once it calms down or streets that are two-way and not in the middle of a school. We don't think in E that it creates a dead end street because again, it's going to open up and you can get through there after that time. So I'll wrap it up again, just saying that pedestrian safety is a long-standing and unresolved issue for us. We feel like it's going to get worse. we don't feel like just having the street calming measures are gonna be enough to lower the risk that we see frequently. And we feel like, we'll have pedestrian access by doing this, but also limit this traffic during the school, core school time for our kids. That's it.
Just, I guess my first question, maybe you said it, I maybe didn't hear it. Why not abandon all the way down to 41st?
So we wanted to allow the condos to be able to exit off of that parking lot and still turn out and get out that way. So that was really just.
But for them to go north, they would have to go over to Warwick North and then up in there, or, because I thought Walnut was said to be southbound only. Is that right?
It turns back into two-way right there at 41st when they cross over. It's a two-way street again.
At where? Warwick and 41st?
So what you asked was correct. Yeah, they can exit that way, cannot enter that way.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So
they
they'd
can't-
only
they
be able to
can't enter that way.
going up Warwick and in.
Yeah.
And they could exit Walnut or Warwick.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions from the commission to the applicant?
No questions for me.
I just personally, I find it hard to not do the full block from block to block because you're leaving a piece, left there. I could totally understand and like what you're trying to do.
Right.
But from a movement standpoint of traffic, it's very difficult to just end it and leave a piece there, especially when it's a one-way kind of thing. So I'm kind of curious to hear a little bit from the transportation department if Bailey's available. I think it's. There she is. Okay, good morning.
Hi, Commissioners. This is Bailey Waters with Public Works. I can speak to some of the conversations we've had with the school. I think you may have had a few others, but some different options we've looked at were some like chicanes along the street or raised crosswalks or different ways to narrow that entrance of Walnut at 40th to kind of tighten it up. A good example of this is on Charlotte and Columbus Park. I don't know if you all are familiar with that near Independence Avenue, but kind of to make it look a little bit tighter. And I don't think we've ever like closed the loop on conversations of what we as the city would do for traffic calming or what it would work. And they pursued this vacation as these conversations are still ongoing. And then another option we have talked with them about is the application of just like a temporary traffic calming permit that would just be sort of like what you see on Grand when it gets closed near T-Mobile. So like during temporary times of day, so during their school hours or whatnot, doing something like that. An alternative to vacating the street. So just those are some of the options we talked about, but hadn't landed on any one thing.
That kind of permit, is that for a year long? I mean, because it sounds like they're wanting to close pieces down when they have school Monday through Friday.
Right. So this isn't something that is like a normal request for us. We don't have necessarily a standard for those sorts of things, but it would likely be something that is like a year-long application that says during these hours, and then it could be renewed for future years or whatnot. It would likely look like something like that.
Okay. I'm just going to again speak for myself. I mean, it seems to me like this case maybe needs to be continued because there's probably some ongoing conversation that needs to take place to get ironed out. I mean, otherwise, my opinion is a denial of this, to be quite honest. So I don't know what the rest of the commission's thinking at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, vacations are, in my opinion, they're permanent legally. And so I think that there are different solutions that should be explored before we make this permanent, not just like an alleyway, which we've done in the past, or these little bits and pieces that don't serve any purpose. This is actually a street that in the future there could be other owners along that street that we don't know of. So we have to make a forward-thinking decision. And I think there's other solutions to achieve the goals.
I'll kind of
add to that. I think, you know, it's commendable that this is a solution that you're trying to solve, you know, now for not only for pedestrians through there, but also for students who are attending. But there is nothing to say that the school will be occupying this site in 100, 200 years. And I think our job is to kind of look at this for the long game. And so whoever is occupying the site in the long run may not have the same values to keep that connected in the future. And so I think that's part of our job, is to make sure that we keep that connection in the long run. Yeah, I'm fine continuing. I'm supportive of the application. So looking at the traffic flow, it doesn't seem as much of a connector in my mind, because north of 39th, it does only go 30 northbound. So it's not really something that you could travel on going southbound for more than 2 blocks going that direction. And because the applicant owns the property to the west of Warwick, if traffic is routed around to either Main Street or Warwick, I don't think that we're putting in, you know, an undue amount of traffic on those streets. And then I also do not think in terms of, let's see, is it 10, maybe not 10D, but 10A, in terms of creating an unreasonable burden. I don't think it's an unreasonable burden for people entering that condo lot to travel in between Walnut and Warwick. It's, you know, you've got an extra 100 yards you're driving to access the drive. So I think it's a relatively, there are few impacts to surrounding traffic. So I'd be supportive of it, but also completely understand what you're saying about having a more fully baked plan, and I'd be happy to continue it as well.
Yeah, I'd just kind of like to see that full plan worked out and what the traffic looks like coming from Walnut, Warwick, and how it accesses 41st Street before there's any vacation of Walnut.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Baker. So one question is like, how often do you use those fields in the winter?
It depends on the weather, frankly. So like before Christmas, the weather was pretty great. So we were out there a lot. It's really day to day. So, you know, we set up tents during the pandemic, you know, out there on the field. And so we still have.
Do you mind talking more in the microphone?
Sorry.
So we can all hear you. Thank you.
I was just saying, it really depends on the weather. So if the weather's nice, you know, we go outside. So our kids, right now, I think our rule is if it's 21 degrees, with the weather, with the wind chill, we go outside for our playgrounds and all those things. So we get out there quite a bit. Now, they might not have PE if it's that cold, but if we can get out there, we do. So we've been out there through Christmas. I imagine this week we'll be out there unless it gets colder. So we are out there frequently. The other thing we do is we also use that as a pedestrian access to come down to the cafeteria. We also are in the church every Friday, the whole community, and actually our toddlers through 2nd grade actually have their PE in the parish hall of the church. So there's a lot of movement, maybe not across the street, but along the street as well. But whenever we can.
Right. I was wondering because like Commissioner Baker said, this is a permanent thing, and I will be curious to see other options, you know, that doesn't, that they can help to fix the problem, but are not permanent and closing the street, because, yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Hill, any comments right now?
No, not really. I mean, I hear both sides. I agree with Enders. I would generally been supportive of the vacation. Certainly understand that it's a permanent solution, but I've been over by the school, certainly have enjoyed more than my share at Starbucks. And there are periods of the day where whether it's recess, the pickup, the drop off, where I mean the traffic is just intense. And so I understand the school wanting to think about how to connect their campus and ultimately, you know, just have it safe for students. But I'm open if you all want to continue just to have a more comprehensive, thorough discussion.
Okay. All right, any other thoughts at this time? We haven't done any public testimony yet. We better get that out of the road. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 6, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
Mr. Chair, no one in the room wishes to speak, and Laura Burkhalter has her hand raised on Zoom.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Laura Burkhalter. I'm president of the Southmoreland Neighborhood Association. I live at 4134 Locust Street. And I'm here today to communicate that our association is not in support of this vacation. The school had approached us a few years ago about this request, and our recommendation was to apply all of the traffic calming measures first before going to the extent of a full vacation of the street. A lot of our residents remarked that they do use the street pretty regularly, and we're not in support of a permanent vacation of this street, essentially giving a community asset to a private entity of sorts. So we would like to maintain the street right now, and we recommend and suggest that the school go ahead and implement the traffic calming measures first before going to this extreme measure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
The peers on Zoom with their hand raised. No
Okay.
one else.
All right, so we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. So I think we got a couple things on the table here, maybe a continuance to see how maybe there's other options to work out first before we finalize the case, or maybe there's opportunity to try something and then come back, whether it's 6 months from now or whatever, we can, and kind of go from there, I would guess. So.
Yeah, we are okay with continuance, but we would like to see some movement on this and probably come back if there's not.
Okay, yeah, so I would think if we continue, we start with probably not the next meeting, but the one after, just to give plenty of time to visit with Public Works on this. So that'd be the first February meeting.
February 6th.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, my guess is that Public Works probably has, I imagine, a lot of different priorities right now. And so, of course, we'll be able to get an update. I'll be curious to know if it's something that Public Works feels that there are appropriate measures that can be undertaken and how long it would take to do that. I think that if we're to see this again, and if we were to grant a vacation, it would be interesting to also have some understanding of what the future costs might be for maintenance of such a long stretch of road, since that would now fall on the applicant to maintain it.
Yeah, that would be the applicant's burden if it is
Yeah.
vacated. So I don't know if this body, it really matters because it's not a public street anymore.
Sure. I mean, just in the same way that we ask, someone who's running an Airbnb or something, hey, do you have the plan and the wherewithal to make us feel good about seating, or granting this opportunity? I think it'd be worthwhile to see that in a full application for a vacation.
Sure.
I would like to see that.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion at this time?
All right. Chair Crowe, I move to continue docket item 6 to February 6th without fee.
Second. I've got a motion and a second for continuance of docket item 6 until, excuse me, February 6th without fee. Paulina, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Baker,
Aye.
Crowe,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye.
Hasek.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye. Okay, looks like that continuance is approved 6-0. So I look forward to seeing you back on the 6th, and hopefully we'll have some better options. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Waters, for coming down or up. With that, so Commissioner Hill, you need to leave for another meeting here at 11.
Yes.
So, okay, so I think we're going to go back to docket item number 3, hoping the applicant's available.
The applicant for docket item number 3 has not joined, and we are unable to get in contact with him.
Okay, so I think with that, we look to continue docket item 3.
Mhm.
And maybe we start from the very beginning next time we do that versus so we can get the presentation again at that time.
Okay.
So with that,
Are we looking at the 23rd?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the
Yes.
next meeting, we'll
Mhm.
say 2 weeks from now, but we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Chair Crowley moved to continue docket item 3 to the next CPC meeting.
Second.
With fee.
With fee? Yeah. Do we have to re-advertise?
I think that's a question for Ms. Baxter. If we'll need to re-advertise if we're continuing it right now, to the 23rd. And we can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Give us a thumbs up or down if you don't mind.
Type it in the chat.
Okay, so let's just assume that it is with a fee. If it's not, you can say the fee is zero down the road. I've got a motion and a second for continuance of docket item number 3 to the next CPC meeting with fee. Paulina, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Baker,
Aye.
Crowe,
Aye.
Anders.
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Hasek,
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye. Okay, looks like the motion passes in for continuance of that docket item. So I think I understand that we won't be able to have a meeting on the 16th for some reason or another. So we're looking to postpone it a week.
To January 23rd. And so I think if you guys can give me your availability, if that will work for everyone.
Yeah.
We can plan on getting that set up.
I'm available that day. Or rest of the
As of
commission.
right now, I'm not.
You're not?
So right now, no.
Are you available? Okay, Commissioner Enders. Okay, Commissioner Hill, are you available the 23rd?
I have a 10 to 11, but I'll see if I can not attend this meeting. I'm not sure yet.
Okay, I know they're, depending on, because of one of the docket items that was continued today, there will be one I need to recuse at the next meeting, assuming it gets held that meeting. So there's 4 of us, and I'm hopefully, Commissioner Beasley is able to join us, at that.
Okay.
I give us 5.
Yes.
So, okay, so I think the next meeting then we'll hold it on the 23rd instead of the 16th. So mark your calendar accordingly.
And since we're moving that meeting, you'll have to amend your motion for consent item 1 and then 7 and 8 as well.
Say it again.
Since we're moving it from the 16th to the 23rd, consent item number 1 and regular docket items 7 and 8 were continued to the 16th.
Okay, so
So
we
if you
need to
could-
change that.
Just amend your
Can we do
motion.
that one fell swoop here?
Sure. Chair Crowley moved to amend previous motions to continue docket items C2 from the consent agenda, and then 7 and 8 from the regular agenda to January 23rd.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second to change those items to January 23rd. Paulina, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Baker,
Aye.
Crowe,
Aye.
Anders.
Aye.
Hill,
She left.
Hasek.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye. It looks like that motion passes 5-0 to change those to the 23rd. One more item of business. Do you got an announcement to make?
This will be my last meeting. So thank you all for your great, almost 4 years, right?
Almost 4 years. Yeah, maybe. Well, here May, it'd be 4 years for
Yeah.
you guys. Yeah.
So I'll miss everyone, but I'll be around. So
Thank you for everything you've done. We appreciate you being as part of the commission. You've had loved your voice and the things you've had to say with us and how you participated. Certainly going to miss you, and good luck as you move forward.
thank you.
All right. Anything else to bring before the commission?
Nothing else.
How you guys doing? You okay? Questions, comments, or anything, or learned by fire hose? Seems like.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Don't feel, ask questions as we go along. It's go right ahead. So these poor guys have had, their opportunity over the last couple of years to learn things, and it was by fire hose as well. Our meetings have gotten a little bit more efficient, but, yeah, feel free to ask at any time. All right, with that, motion to adjourn. All right. Yeah, one